Ilara's hands tremble as she accesses the ship's database, searching for any transmission from Earth's colonies or outposts. Nothing but static. The hegemony had been thorough. Simultaneous attacks across human settlements, precisely coordinated to eliminate witnesses and survivors. The footage from Mars outposts shows civilians running as antimatter weapons reduce habitats to atoms. The Jupiter mining station's final transmission. Children being evacuated as hegemony boarding parties breach the airlock. She slams her fist against the console, pain anchoring her to reality. Grief threatens to swallow her whole, but something else burns beneath it. A cold, calculating fury that brings strange clarity. Analysis of hegemony broadcast complete. The damaged AI announces. Embedded data confirms Centennial Conclave location. Meridian Prime, Central Sector. Event commences in 42 standard days. Ilara's neural implant interfaces with the ship's systems, downloading star charts and classified intelligence files, even as the life support systems flicker. The implant, experimental technology from Earth's Special Forces program Prometheus, tingles at the base of her skull, processing information faster than her conscious mind. "Show me what we know about Meridian Prime," she commands. Holographic images materialize. A gleaming ecumenopolis spanning an entire planet, seat of the hegemony's power. 7 massive towers represent the ruling species, surrounded by lesser structures housing their protectorate vassals. The security schematics are intimidating. Automated defense systems, genetic scanners, neural pattern recognition. Infiltration probability, 0%. The AI concludes. Recommend alternative. Not interested in probabilities, Ilara interrupts, checking the ship's remaining arsenal. Calculate maximum operational time before life support failure. 73 hours at current consumption rates. Ilara moves methodically through the ship. In the medbay, she uses the regeneration unit to heal her worst injuries. In the armory, she selects weapons that might give her an edge. The prototype adaptive rifle, pulse grenades, and a stealth field generator that had been in development before the attack. Most precious of all is what she finds in the botanical lab, a sealed container of Earth soil samples, along with preserved seeds from various regions. She pockets this last piece of her homeworld, securing it next to her heart. In the crew quarters, she pauses before Captain Rivera's locker. Inside is a recorded message chip meant for her family, now dead like all the others. Ilara activates it, needing to hear another human voice. "Elena, the kids, I don't know if this will reach you." The hegemony ships appeared without warning. They'd been planning this while smiling through negotiations. If anyone survives, remember that Earth stood for something. We wouldn't surrender our autonomy, our right to determine our own future. That's what they couldn't tolerate. A species that refused to know its place. Ilara pockets the chip, a testament to what was lost. In the command center, she plots a course for the galaxy's fringes, where hegemony control is weakest. The navigation computer calculates fuel requirements, plotting a path through contested space. Warning: hegemony patrol routes intersect trajectory at multiple points, the AI cautions. "Good," Ilara responds, sliding into the pilot's seat. "I need to capture a faster ship anyway." As the engines power up, she takes one last look at the debris field that was once Earth. Billions of lives reduced to floating rock and metal. Somewhere out there drift fragments of the Louvre, pieces of the Great Wall, remnants of everything humanity built over thousands of years. "They think they've eliminated us," she whispers, engaging the faster-than-light drive. But they've made a critical error. The stars blur as the ship accelerates, leaving Earth's grave behind. They missed one. The station's emergency klaxons surge to life, bathing the corridors in pulsing red. Through the grimy viewport, Ilara spots the sleek obsidian hull of Orcs' command vessel as it docks, its design unlike standard hegemony ships. Custom-built for hunting, not patrolling. "We need to move," Zexkar hisses, pulling her away from the gathered humans whose faces have drained of color. There are tunnels beneath the commerce sector. They slip through maintenance passages as hegemony announcements echo through the station. Attention citizens. Mandatory genetic screening in progress. Harboring human fugitives is punishable by immediate termination. From shadowed alcoves, they witness the efficiency of Vorgzal's purge. Squads deploying mobile DNA scanners, dragging suspected humans from homes and businesses. Some fight back with improvised weapons. None survive. The station's security forces make token protests before standing down, outmatched by hegemony firepower. They've never committed resources like this for a single fugitive hunt. Zexkar observes as they descend through access shafts toward the station's industrial heart. Who exactly are you? Ilara doesn't answer, focused on the emergency transmissions flooding her neural implant. Panicked calls from human cells across 3 decks being systematically eliminated. She forces herself to block them out. She can't save them. Not yet. They reach a processing plant where Nexus Station's atmosphere is filtered through massive recyclers. The heat is suffocating, steam obscuring visibility beyond a few meters. Workers of various species, most deformed from generations in toxic conditions, barely glance at the newcomers. Strangers mean trouble, and they've endured enough. I know someone, Zexkar mutters, leading her through the labyrinth of pipes and condensers. She trades in information, sees everything that happens on the station. Their destination is a makeshift dwelling built into a decommissioned purification chamber. Inside, an ancient Mavorian hunches over an impressive array of surveillance equipment, her lower body fused to a mechanical support system, skin modeled from chemical exposure. 8 eyes swivel independently, scanning different feeds. Kira, Zexkar begins, we need. I know what you need, she interrupts, her voice surprisingly melodious from a ruined throat. Half the station knows you're harboring Commander Ilara Voss of Earth Special Forces, last survivor of the diplomatic vessel Harbinger. Her primary eyes fix on Ilara. The Archon has offered enough credits to buy a small moon for your capture. Ilara tenses, hand moving toward her concealed weapon, but the Mavorian waves dismissively. If I wanted the bounty, his forces would already be here. Some of us remembered when the hegemony pacified my homeworld. She taps one mechanical appendage against a console, bringing up a secure transmission. This came through channels even the hegemony doesn't know exist. The message originates from Ceti Alpha's asteroid belt. Admiral Chen's face, older and scared but unmistakable, speaking in encrypted military code that Ilara's implant instantly translates. All surviving Earth Force personnel, Protocol Lazarus is active. Rendezvous coordinates follow. Authentication. Thermopylae, Omega-3. Hope surges through Ilara. Chen alive means organized resistance, resources, possibly more survivors than she dared imagine. There's a smuggler leaving for Ceti Alpha in 6 hours, Kira continues. But you'll never reach the docks. They've locked down all transport hubs. What about the maintenance tunnels? Ilara asks, neural implant already mapping potential routes. Crawling with hegemony patrols, Zexkar growls. We need a distraction. A rumbling laugh escapes Kira's damaged lungs. Perhaps I can help with that. The Archon's arrival has agitated certain elements on the station. Those who've suffered under hegemony protection have been waiting for a catalyst. She activates a transmitter. Tonight, they'll get one. The genetic scanner pulses with violet light as Ilara stands perfectly still, the falsified genetic markers in her disguise facing their most rigorous test. Zexkar waits beside her, tension evident in the subtle rippling of his scales. Maintenance authorization confirmed, the automated system finally announces. Proceed to Level 7 for scheduled emission array calibration. They pass through the checkpoint into the heart of the hegemony research facility, their stolen maintenance uniforms drawing little attention from the facility's true staff, mostly members of the Voth, a species renowned for their scientific brilliance and complete lack of interest in those they consider inferior. Remember, Zexkar sub-vocalizes through their encrypted comlink, We have 18 minutes before the system flags our authorization codes for secondary verification. Ilara nods almost imperceptibly, her neural implant interfacing with the maintenance pad she carries, mapping the facility's layout beyond what their stolen blueprints revealed. The true objective, the central data core, lies 3 levels deeper than their authorized access permits. They separate at a junction. Zek's car heading to the environmental systems to create their eventual diversion, while Ilara proceeds toward a promising access point, a restricted laboratory where quantum entanglement experiments are conducted. Outside the laboratory, she activates a maintenance protocol on a nearby conduit, generating error messages that bring an irritated Voth scientist to investigate. This sector was cleared yesterday. He snaps, 6-fingered hands moving with deliberate precision as he checks the panel. New directive. Ilara responds, keeping her eyes downcast as her implant subtly scans his security badge. The fluctuations returned in the delta band. The scientist mutters something contemptuous about administrative incompetence before returning to the lab, unwittingly allowing her scan to capture his retinal patterns. Once alone, Ilara works quickly, her augmented reflexes allowing her to splice the security feed, while her implant fabricates the credentials needed for deeper access. The door slides open with a nearly inaudible hiss, revealing a lab unlike anything she expected. Inside, Earth technology is laid out on examination tables, neural interfaces salvaged from destroyed human vessels, adaptive combat systems, like her own, and most disturbing, rows of preserved human brain tissue suspended in shimmering stasis fields. A frustrated Voth researcher throws instruments aside, mandibles clicking with agitation as he addresses his team. The integration fails every time. Their neural architecture reconfigures itself differently with each attempt. It's as if their minds were designed to resist outside control. Perhaps that's exactly the point, another scientist suggests, manipulating a holographic representation of human synaptic patterns. Look at the adaptation rate, synapses rewiring in response to the interface attempt. No other species we've studied does this. Ilara accesses an unattended terminal, her implant bypassing security, while she pretends to conduct routine maintenance. The data flowing into her neural interface is overwhelming. Classified files on 18 different extinction events, each clinically documented, each followed by the same phrase: civilization terminated due to incompatibility with hegemony guidance. The true shock comes when she accesses files on Earth's defense. The hegemony had studied humans extensively before attacking, capturing, and experimenting on isolated outposts for decades. What they discovered terrified them: human neural plasticity that allowed for unprecedented technological adaptation, immune systems that could develop resistance to bioweapons within a single generation rather than the evolutionary timescales other species required. Genetic anomaly confirmed, reads one report. Subject species capable of artificial evolutionary acceleration through technological means. Recommendation: immediate termination of civilization to prevent memetic spread. Before she can process this revelation, alarms blare from a nearby lab section. Through the transparent partition, she sees Zek's car cornered by security forces, a canister of the facility's experimental bioweapon shattered at his feet. The containment protocols activate, sealing each section, trapping Ilara with the classified data and Zek's car with the deadly pathogen. Time slows as her combat implants engage, calculating options while the facility locks down around them. The emergency evacuation siren wails through the Morrigan Collective's asteroid base as Vorgzal's forces withdraw from the devastated outpost. Ilara and Chen coordinate from the command center, directing survivors through escape tunnels while defense teams provide covering fire. Third quadrant secure, reports a resistance fighter, a former Altarian diplomat whose species was the first to be civilized by hegemony standards. 27 refugees en route to evacuation point. Chen nods grimly, his weathered face illuminated by tactical displays, showing hegemony ships withdrawing to regroup. That was too close. They're tracking us more effectively now. They're adapting, Ilara observes, studying the enemy movement patterns. Vorksal is implementing human-inspired tactical variations, unpredictable search patterns instead of standard hegemony grid sweeps. The last transport launches safely, cloaking technology concealing it among the asteroid field's radiation signatures. In the sudden quiet following evacuation, Chen leads Ilara to a secured chamber deep within the asteroid's core, a war room where the Resistance's most sensitive operations are planned. "Show me again," he demands, gesturing toward the neural projector. "Show me why this suicide mission deserves our limited resources." Ilara connects her neural implant to the base's systems, projecting the classified data she stole. Three-dimensional holograms materialize. Test subjects connected to prototype Harmony Protocol devices, their brainwaves visibly rewritten as cultural memories and personality markers, are systematically erased. "This isn't mind control," she explains as resistance leaders from 7 species watch in horror. "It's complete neural reprogramming on a civilizational scale. Once deployed, it can process entire planetary populations through orbital transmitters. Why not simply kill us all?" asks a Saurian commander whose homeworld is now a barren mining outpost. "Dead martyrs inspire rebellions," Chen answers, studying the technical specifications. "Compliant servants inspire nothing." The hologram shifts to display the Harmony Protocol's planned deployment, starting with border worlds and expanding inward until every hegemony subject is neurologically pacified. Implementation begins with the Centennial Conclave's ceremonial activation. 7,418 human survivors remain unaccounted for. Chen states flatly, "Every day we lose more. Your plan risks everything on one operation." "Look at their targeting pattern," Ilara responds, highlighting dozens of hegemony raids. "They're hunting humans specifically, prioritizing us over all other resistance cells. The longer we wait, the fewer of us remain." The room falls silent as Admiral Chen contemplates, decades of military experience weighing against desperate odds. Finally, he pulls up the schematics for Meridian Prime and the Conclave Citadel. "If, and I emphasize if, we commit to this operation, what exactly do you need?" Before Ilara can respond, the asteroid's perimeter alarms activate. Security feeds show a hegemony scout ship approaching, smaller than a warship but distinctive in its specialized configuration. That's Vorixol's personal hunter craft, Ilara recognizes immediately. How did he find this location? Chen accesses the communication logs, his expression darkening. The evacuation we just completed, the distress call originated from a compromised source. He looks up, eyes hard with realization. This wasn't a rescue mission. It was bait to draw us out. The asteroid shudders as precision weapons target its weakest structural points. Around them, the Resistance headquarters begins emergency lockdown procedures. He's not trying to destroy the base, Ilara realizes, watching the tactical display. He's deploying boarding parties. He wants prisoners, not casualties. Chen activates the command center's secure communication system. All defense teams to primary access points. Activate Protocol Omega. No one gets taken alive. He turns to Ilara, his decision made. "You'll have your team. Because we just ran out of alternatives." The biometric scanning checkpoint looms ahead. A translucent barrier shimmering with energy fields that analyze genetic markers, neural patterns, and even thought structures of those passing through. Beyond it lies the central neurological facility where Nyx is being held. "This is impossible," Lyria whispers, her silver skin reflecting the facility's pulsing lights. "The scanners will detect human neural signatures instantly." Ilara studies the checkpoint, her implant processing security protocols faster than conscious thought. Not if they're looking at something more interesting. She turns to Zexkar. "Remember our extraction from the research facility." The Saurian scales ripple with understanding. The bioweapon adaptation. In a maintenance alcove, shielded from surveillance, Ilara extracts a vial of her own blood, modified by her enhanced immune system, after exposure to the hegemony pathogen. Her implant interfaces with medical equipment stolen from a hegemony outpost, isolating the unique antibodies her body created. This will trigger their containment protocols, she explains, loading the sample into a dispersal device. The facility will focus on possible contamination rather than identity verification. When deployed near an environmental intake, the alarms are immediate and overwhelming. Emergency barriers slam down as decontamination procedures activate. In the ensuing chaos, the team slips through an emergency medical access point, Lyria's credentials identifying her as a response technician, the others as her support team. Inside the central neurological facility, the true horror of the hegemony's plans becomes impossible to ignore. Vast chambers house thousands of suspension pods, each containing a subject undergoing neural processing. Most disturbing are the segregated sections labeled by species, quotas for how many of each population will be converted first. These aren't random selections. Tvek observes, his multiple eyes blinking rapidly in distress as he accesses a terminal. They're targeting community leaders, educators, artists, anyone who maintains cultural identity. In a restricted laboratory, they discover specialized equipment designed specifically for humans, more elaborate and invasive than that used for other species. They're having difficulty with human subjects. Tvek translates from the research notes. Higher failure rate due to neural plasticity. The more they attempt to rewrite neural pathways, the more the human brain adapts to resist. Ilara accesses the facility's central database through her neural implant, the connection sending sharp pain through her skull as security systems fight her intrusion. Through sheer force of will, she maintains the link long enough to locate Nyx in the high-security testing wing. What they find there stops them cold. Nyx, strapped to an examination table, surrounded by hegemony scientists making final preparations for tomorrow's demonstration. His eyes, normally bright with intelligence, stare vacantly at the ceiling as neural probes map his brain's resistance points. The subject's enhanced memory architecture makes him ideal for the demonstration. A lead scientist explains to observers, "When we successfully rewrite even this specialized human mind, it will prove the protocol's effectiveness against all possible resistance." Ilara calculates their extraction options, each scenario running through her implant's tactical systems. The security presence is overwhelming. Elite guards posted at every junction, automated weapon systems covering all approaches. This isn't a rescue operation anymore, she realizes, the implant cooling against her skull as it finalizes a new strategy. It's an assassination. What? Lyria whispers, horror in her silver eyes. Not Nyx, Ilara clarifies, focusing on the Harmony Protocol apparatus being calibrated nearby. We can't extract him without compromising the entire mission, but we can destroy their prototype and everything they've learned about human neural patterns. The team exchanges grim looks as the reality of their situation becomes clear. They must choose between saving one human or protecting billions across the galaxy from neural subjugation. In Ix-Ethel's hidden sanctuary, time seems to flow differently. The chamber's organic architecture pulses with bioluminescence that responds to thought patterns, shifting colors as Ilara's emotions fluctuate between hope and despair. Nyx lies on a regenerative platform, his breathing stabilized, but his mind still trapped in whatever neural labyrinth Vorexal's interrogators created. His neural pathways are severely damaged, Ix-Ethel explains, translucent appendages hovering over Nyx's temples. The Harmony Protocol is designed to overwrite identity. His resistance protected core memories, but at significant cost. Can you heal him? Ilara asks, watching the shifting patterns beneath Nyx's eyelids. Not completely. Not in time. The ascended beings form ripples with what might be regret. But perhaps we can recover what matters most, the encryption algorithms he memorized. Ilara studies their unlikely ally, a member of the first species, the progenitors who founded the hegemony millennia ago. Ix-Ethel's physical form seems more concept than substance, energy configured into vaguely humanoid shape by will alone. Why help us? She challenges, hand never straying far from her weapon. Your kind created this empire. We created a commonwealth of knowledge. Ethel corrects, projected images appearing in the air. Ancient scenes of cooperation between diverse species. What you call the hegemony was meant to preserve and share advancement, not restrict it. Some of us have watched in horror as our descendants perverted our vision. The images shift to show the Harmony Protocol's development across centuries, initially designed as a medical technology to repair trauma, gradually weaponized into a tool for complete neural domination. The radical faction among the Ascended sees it as evolution's pinnacle. Ethel continues. All consciousness united under singular control. Perfect order. Whose control? Ilara demands. Theirs, of course. The Ascended's form darkens. The original 7 who declared themselves High Counselors were simply the most powerful of our kind. They've manipulated countless species into believing the myth of hegemony benevolence. Outside the sanctuary, they can sense rather than hear the Citadel's preparations for tomorrow's conclave. Thousands of delegates arriving, security protocols activating, the nervous energy of a civilization unknowingly approaching transformation. Ilara accesses her neural implant, reviewing the schematics of the conclave hall where the Harmony Protocol will be unveiled. Every approach is heavily guarded, every system redundantly secured. Even with your help, we can't stop the demonstration, she concludes. The security is impenetrable. Perhaps we shouldn't try to stop it. Ethel suggests, form pulsing with inspiration. Perhaps we should ensure it proceeds, with one significant modification. The beam projects a new schematic, the Harmony Protocol's central control node, the quantum core that will broadcast its signal across hegemony space. The system requires a primary consciousness to establish the base neural pattern. The template all others will be rewritten to match. Ethel explains. They've selected High Counselor Xantri as the ideal model of loyal hegemony consciousness. Understanding dawns on Ilara. If we could substitute a different consciousness as the template, the entire broadcast would carry that consciousness instead. Ethel confirms. Every being connected would receive those thoughts, those memories, that perspective of reality. How could we possibly access the primary template? Ilara asks. It would be the most secured component of the entire system. Ethel's form shifts, resolving into a more defined shape that bears subtle resemblance to Vorexal himself, because tradition demands that the template be established through public ceremony. The High Counselor must physically connect to the system before the assembled delegates, a symbolic moment of sharing wisdom with the galaxy. Ilara's implant pulses as it calculates a new strategy, one so audacious it borders on insanity. So if someone else were to make that connection instead, they would become the template, Ethel confirms. Their consciousness, their truth, would be what spreads across the stars. Blood trickles from Ilara's nose as her neural implant strains beyond design specifications, channeling the Harmony Protocol's vast data streams through her consciousness. Her body convulses against its restraints, while hegemony technicians frantically attempt to sever her connection. Too late. She's already breached their quantum encryption, spreading the unaltered historical archives to every corner of hegemony space. High Counselor Xantri shrieks orders in his native tongue, appendages flailing in panic as delegates from subjugated worlds turn on their former masters. Kill the human. Destroy the broadcast array. Through blurred vision, Ilara sees Lyria and Zexkar fighting alongside members of a dozen species who've broken free of their ceremonial restraints. Ethel and other Ascended materialized throughout the chamber create barriers of pure energy, protecting the broadcast until it completes. The massive doors to the conclave hall explode inward. Through the smoke strides Vorexal, his exoskeleton pulsing with lethal energy, weapons deployed from multiple appendages. The crowd parts before him. Even in chaos, his reputation inspires primal fear. Enough. His synthesized voice resonates across multiple frequencies simultaneously. This farce ends now. With a single precise shot, He disables the restraint system holding Ilara to the Harmony Protocol apparatus. She collapses to the polished floor, neural connection severed but the damage done. The truth broadcast cannot be recalled. As chaos engulfs the conclave hall, Vorexel approaches with methodical precision, ignoring the riots erupting around them. "You've destroyed 1,000 years of order," he states, not with anger, but with something approaching respect. Ilara struggles to her feet, blood dripping from her ears, combat implants engaging despite her body's damage. "I've exposed 1,000 years of lies." Their battle begins without preamble. Vorexel's first strike, moving faster than most species can perceive, a blur of articulated limbs and energy weapons. But Ilara's neural implant has been analyzing his combat patterns since their first encounter, preparing countermeasures for this inevitable confrontation. She dodges by millimeters, her own strikes targeting the junction points in his exoskeleton with uncanny precision. Their combat escalates to speeds that render them nearly invisible to onlookers, a hurricane of violence contained within their immediate vicinity. "Fascinating," Vorexel comments during a momentary respite, environment steaming around them from energy discharge. "Your neural patterns are adapting to my attacks in real time. That's why you fear us," Ilara responds, spitting blood as she calculates new attack vectors. "Humans don't just adapt between generations. We adapt within our lifetimes, within moments." Their battle resumes with greater intensity, decimating ancient artifacts and shattering support columns. As they fight, Ilara makes a stunning discovery. Vorexel's combat systems incorporate neural patterns extracted from human test subjects. His exoskeleton is adapting to her techniques, learning as they fight. "You needed us," she realizes aloud, narrowly avoiding a plasma discharge that melts the floor where she stood. "The hegemony feared our adaptability so much they tried to weaponize it. Your species was an evolutionary aberration," Vorexel acknowledges, his voice modulating across frequencies designed to disrupt human neural processing. "Studying you provided significant tactical advantages." As their battle reaches its apex, the conclave hall's structural integrity fails, centuries-old architecture collapsing under the strain of their conflict. Throughout the Citadel and across countless worlds watching the broadcast, the carefully constructed myth of hegemony invincibility crumbles alongside it. A support beam crashes down, momentarily separating them. Through the dust and debris, Vorexel's glowing visual sensors lock onto Ilara. "This changes nothing," he declares. "One human cannot defeat a galactic empire." Ilara smiles through blood-stained teeth. "I never intended to defeat it alone." From outside the Citadel comes the sound of orbital engines. Admiral Chen's fleet has arrived, accompanied by ships from dozens of formerly subjugated worlds, all responding to the truth they've witnessed through the hijacked broadcast. The newly christened colony ship Prometheus hangs in orbit above Alcyon IV, its hull bearing the scars of battles fought during the hegemony's collapse. Through the observation deck's viewport, Ilara watches the first waves of atmospheric processors descend to the planet's surface. Joint creations combining technology from a dozen different species, each contributing their unique expertise to the terraforming project. Her reflection in the glass reveals the physical cost of her rebellion. A network of silver neural repair filaments visible beneath her skin, medical technology from the Ascended slowly healing the damage from her neural interface with the Harmony Protocol. The doctors say some effects may never fully heal, but Ilara considers it a small price for what was gained. The agricultural domes are ahead of schedule, Zexkar announces, joining her at the viewport. His scales have a healthier sheen now, the radiation damage finally treated with medical technology, once reserved for hegemony elites. The first earth grasses have taken root in the experimental plots. Your planet's vegetation adapts remarkably well to alien soil. Just like its people, Ilara remarks with a slight smile. On a nearby display, reports stream in from across former hegemony space. Refugee convoys requesting settlement coordinates, scientific exchanges between formerly isolated species, diplomatic councils establishing new frameworks of cooperation. Interspersed are troubling alerts, isolated hegemony loyalist strongholds, resource conflicts erupting in power vacuums, cultural tensions as long-separated species relearn coexistence. You look concerned, Lyria observes, her empathic ability sensing Ilara's disquiet. Silver skin now adorned with symbols of her people's pre-hegemony culture, she's embraced her role as cultural attaché between the colony project and her homeworld. We've torn down an empire, Ilara acknowledges, but building something better requires more than rebellion. It requires imagination. The ship's communications array chimes with an incoming priority transmission. Admiral Chen appears on screen, his image flickering slightly due to distance. Convergence Council has ratified the Alcyon Charter, he reports without preamble. 37 species have signed the initial accord, with 14 more requesting observer status. The vote was unanimous. New Terra will serve as neutral ground for the continuing diplomatic process. And the ascended proposal? Ilara asks. Accepted with modifications. They'll surrender their advanced technologies gradually, with oversight from the Multi-Species Science Commission you proposed. Chen's expression remains stoic, but pride flickers in his eyes. Your suggestion to focus first on medical and environmental restoration technologies was particularly well received. As the transmission ends, Ilara's attention is drawn to the most precious space on the observation deck, a large terrarium where Earth's soil nurtures seedlings from dozens of worlds. A group of children gathered around it represents 7 different species, listening as an elderly human botanist explains each plant's significance. This one, the botanist says, indicating a vibrant blue flower, comes from Zexkar's homeworld. Before the hegemony's extraction programs, it covered entire continents. And here, she points to a resilient grass with silvery blades, is one of the few plants that survived on Lyria's planet after atmospheric degradation. Now they grow together, each strengthening the soil for the others. Ilara watches the children's fascination, none born into freedom, yet all instinctively understanding its value. One child, a hybrid with both human and Altarian features, carefully tends a particularly delicate seedling. What's this one? The child asks. That, Ilara answers, joining their circle, is an oak. On Earth, they lived for hundreds of years, weathering storms and seasons. They grew slowly but endured longer than most species around them. Will it grow here? Another child wonders. It already is. Ilara points out the tiny green shoot pushing through alien soil. And someday, long after we're gone, your children's children might rest in its shade, on a world we can only imagine.